All right, in today's video, we're gonna be going over some fragrances that you can purchase once and never forget. Kind of like that buy once, cry once mentality, where instead of maybe sinking your money into something that is, maybe cheaper or, not quite as perceived as high quality in order to not spend as much money, if you splurge on some of these, you might find that it was well worth the purchase. Now, I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with cheap fragrances. There's not. There's plenty of amazing ones out there, but you have to find the good ones that are, not a complete waste of money, which when it comes to cheap fragrances, there are plenty that are a waste of money. I have several of them, and you really find out by purchasing them because, buying samples of cheap fragrances and trying to find them in stores usually doesn't work out very well. But in today's video, these are quality, they're worth the money, and they're worth the purchase. We're actually gonna get things kicked off with Prada L'Homme Intense. Has leather, tonka bean, and iris. So still maintaining that iris DNA, what they're doing is adding more richness to it, more complexity with the addition of leather and the bumped up focus of the tonka bean here, just making it sweeter and heavier and giving it a little bit of a leathery feel. No surprise. You even get a little bit of patchouli in here as well. So that's kind of adding to the whole theme that we're describing here, just giving it that extra layer. In this case, it makes it a little bit more mature smelling, which is great for the DNA. This is a perfect black tie event type of scent. I mean, just look at the bottle presentation as well. Nice, sleek looking, very classy. And the smell just gives you the impression of an upscale, elegant type of event or situation. This is pretty much the best Prada L'Homme flanker that you can buy. Now, they've discontinued a couple over the years, but in terms of what you can get right now, to me, it's the best one. Now, the original Prada L'Homme is still worth picking up as well. That one is gonna be fresher, more of your day-to-day wear type of scent, whereas this one may be a little bit more for special occasions, nights out, formal situations, that sort of thing. Usually going to be looking at around $80 to $90 for this. The original Prada L'Homme, I think, is usually somewhere around $60 or $70, so not really a huge price increase for what you get. And to me, it's well worth the splurge and going up to this one if it sounds good to you. Now, this next one's actually pretty affordable. It might be, in fact, it is the cheapest fragrance in this video, and it's one that I think is kind of heavily overlooked. It was pretty popular when it first came out, but then it died off quickly. Here recently, as I've been revisiting this lineup because they are going to be going away at some point, this is one where I started spending more time with it again, and I was actually very, very thoroughly impressed with it. It's Dunhill Icon Racing. So, at first glance, maybe looking at the notes, maybe trying it, for the first time or first couple of times, might not stand out to you, but I've been wearing it more here recently, and I've had a really big change of heart on it. It's just, there's actually more to it going on than I initially remembered back when I tried it and first got it years ago when it came out. This one has grapefruit, musk, orange blossom. You're getting a ton of other notes as well, some other citruses and some other florals and woody notes and that sort of thing, just kind of your run-of-the-mill standard stuff. Nothing in the note breakdown really stands out to where it makes you think, oh, that's a unique scent that I need to go out and buy, right? It's pretty standard overall, nothing crazy, right? So that's one of the reasons why maybe you've passed this one up just over the years, right? That, and also again, it's just not really talked about all that much anymore. But actually, as I've been wearing it more, it does have a nice kind of a mature and unique twist to it that I don't remember it having, or at least, I don't remember really picking up on it in that way when I first got it. It does have a little bit of a bubblegummy smell, which is kind of counterintuitive to what I'm describing, but that bubblegumminess, it does kind of dissipate, it does start to go away. It makes room for the orange blossom, some of the other white florals as well. Some of the woody notes start to come through more, and that's where it gets on track to being a more mature smelling scent and just giving it a little bit more of a uniqueness that you don't get in a lot of other scents. So to me, this is kind of like basically capturing a little portion of a modern scent, meaning that bubblegummy smell. Using that, but then also throwing in some other, types of accords and notes to push it away from that a little bit to where it's not a full-fledged, bubblegummy, sweet, youthful scent. There's plenty of balance here with this one. This one's actually an eau de parfum concentration as well, which is pretty nice. A decent performer here, nice quality, nice smell all the way around. Cool bottle presentation as well. This is, again, one that I really enjoy, especially for the money. It's hard to beat. All right, this next one is Montblanc Extreme Leather. This stuff is absolutely amazing. I believe this is just their extreme lineup, is what they call it. Came out last year. 3 notes: leather, iris, and musk. Fair enough. Definitely get the leather. No surprise. You would hope so, and you do. Now, what type of leather is it? It's not an extreme leather. So, again, the name, right? You might think of an extreme leather as something like, at least for me, a Tom Ford Tuscan leather. I always go back to that, but that is a very extreme, animalic, earthy, strong leather accord. I mean, not everybody likes that, right? And that's what I think of when I think of extreme leather. It's next level. There's not too many things out there quite like Tuscan leather aside for the clones. Now, this one, again, it's not that type of leather. It's a smoother, sweeter leather here. It's nowhere near as potent. You're getting some iris to go along with that, which is nice. You know, I love me an iris scent, and it mixes really well with this, and a bit of musk also. Now, you could say, at least this is how I'm going to place this one, in a roundabout way, it is somewhat similar, and I'm saying somewhat, to Herrera Iris Empire. Has a similar type of leather component, has a similar type of sweetness, but that's where it stops. This is not a clone of Iris Empire. This is simply a way for me to help place this somewhere for you to get an understanding of what category it's in. And I would also maybe say that if Iris Empire is way out of your budget and you want something that achieves a similar thing, basically kind of a sweet leather, then maybe this is something you can look into. Again, not a clone, it's not a replacement if you're trying to get to that exact smell, but it's in that similar category. Price on this one is usually around $70 to $80 here on discounters, which is not a bad price at all. Under $100 for something that smells this good and this high quality is really impressive, honestly. And that's, again, way cheaper than Iris Empire if you were trying to achieve something similar to that without breaking the bank completely and spending, you know, $250 or more. Let's keep it moving with Azzaro Wanted by Night, a true classic here. The first wanted flanker, right? At least it has to be, and then probably Tonic maybe came after that, and then, you know, the list goes on from there at this point, but very popular one, and was popular pretty much right out of the gate. And I think the reason why is because this is a major improvement over the original Wanted. I mean, just worlds better. Not necessarily a Wanted hater. For me personally, and in my opinion, having tried other things, I think that there are better options out there. This and a lot of the other flankers being several of them. If you like it, you like it. That's all that matters. But for me, Wanted by Night is more than worth the money. You know, I think these days, right around maybe $70, $75. I think there was a point where it used to be $50, $55 on discounters. That's just, those days are gone. A lot of mid-range $50 designer fragrances that were at that price 5 years ago just aren't at that price anymore, really, and this is one of them. It basically has that cinnamon, really, really strong cinnamon focus here with a ton of tonka bean sweetness and a little bit of that Wanted original DNA in here. It smells wonderful, just spicy, warm, rich, and a beast mode performer as well. Really don't need to describe this one a ton, but just know, to me, definitely worth the price. You can also sometimes get a pretty good buy on the 150 ml bottle. So this is a 100, but the 150s sometimes will pop up for a really good price relative to the 100 milliliter size. And, you know, that might make sense if you're going to be wearing it on a very regular basis. This next one is L'Homme Le Parfum by, of course, YSL. And at this point, I mean, it's kind of one of the few L'Homme flankers that you can get. We're basically down to the original, the Eau de Parfum, and this one, and then maybe Cologne Blue. But I'm struggling to think of any other ones that are in production. Maybe I'm missing one, drop them down below. But yeah, I think that's kind of about it. A lot of the other really good ones have been discontinued, just like what happened in the La Nuit de L'Homme lineup as well. This one has ozonic notes, amberwood, geranium. It smells great. It's kind of their take on a blue fragrance, but with that original L'Homme smell. So it has that gentleman's classy L'Homme smell, that ginger apple type of smell, you know, that mature and kind of warm, spicy, aromatic freshness. It has that in here. Again, that would make sense. It's a lone flanker. But then what they're doing is they're throwing in an amberwood, throwing in a geranium, tying back into some of the other modern day aromatics, basically talking again that geranium, lavender, sage type of deal. Those aren't new, obviously, but they're just being utilized heavily right now with blue fragrances and amberwood. So that's what this one is. It's just kind of bridging the gap, taking that OG L'Homme and kind of propelling it into the blue fragrance category here a little bit. That's what you get. And for me, I love it because I love the original L'Homme. It's one of my all-time favorite classic designer scents. And I also love a good blue fragrance, right? You could honestly also say that it's kind of L'Homme meets Eau de Parfum. In a roundabout way, you could describe it like that as well. Although there are some differences, it gives you a general idea. Usually going to be about $80, $85 on discounters. You know, for what it's worth, kind of combining a couple of scents into one with a twist, you know, it's cheaper than buying two, right? So that's one way you could look at it, but ultimately just a nice, versatile, everyday type of scent to have around that I've enjoyed personally for years. I love wearing this stuff. This next one is Tom Ford Noir Extreme Parfum. So also basically taking an existing DNA and making it more mature. We saw that with Prada L'Homme Intense, what we started the video out with. We do a similar thing here, also utilizing a leather note, right? Just, it's crazy what a little bit of leather thrown in will do to a scent DNA. It blends with a lot of things really well, and this is another one where it works great. So you still get that gourmand, coffee, cardamom mixture, that sweet, edible, dessert type of smell that you get from the original Noir Extreme. And then again, you're adding in leather here to give it more of a masculine edge, and also just to give it more backbone, more rigidity, because that original is basically sweet all the way through with not a whole lot of anything else. Maybe a little bit of sandalwood or something, but sandalwood is pretty soft, pretty smooth, and doesn't really give much texture usually. But the leather accord in here, it does. And to me, it's very beneficial to have in this scent DNA to balance things out and to make it overall, at least for me, a better wearing experience just because of that. And I also found that the original Eau de Parfum often fell flat, wasn't the best performer on my skin, which when you're paying that type of money, you're kind of let down by that. The Parfum fixes it. Again, just the addition of that leather accord and amping things up, and also making it, of course, a true Parfum, it did wonders for the performance. And we're going to finish this video off with Dior Homme Original, one that I recommend picking up when you have the option to. $115 for 100 ml right now. Very normal price for this. You know, Dior Homme Intense is pretty close to around that same price as well these days. Maybe, you know, off by a little, but none of these are cheap. And the fact that this one is pretty hard to find, 115 isn't bad at all. It's just the embodiment of Dior Homme. You know, it's basically released after Dior Homme 2020 to bring back that fresher iris take that this line was built off of, which makes total sense, because why would you discontinue the main fragrance that started the entire lineup, right? So I'm glad that they ended up doing this one here. Begs the question, will they put out a Dior Homme Parfum Original? Maybe, but again, maybe not, because it's not an originator of the line. You know, maybe this was them keeping that original, what started this, alive, right? Just for, you know, just to do that, because it makes sense, right? But Dior Homme Parfum, it didn't really start anything. It was just, you know, it was, well, the last flanker up until now. We've got the 2025 version. So I don't know. We're not guaranteed anything there, although I hope for it. If Dior Homme Intense is too sweet, then this will be the answer to it, most likely, because it is much fresher, more of your everyday wear type of scent. Great for work, for day-to-day errands, even for school, I guess, if you wanted something that is really going to stand out against, you know, Sauvage and Dylan Blue and all the other, you know, sweet tonka bean scents. This is one that'll definitely make you smell much more mature. Alrighty, guys, that's going to do it for me. Some fragrances that I think you'll buy once and never regret. You'll really get your use out of these. I'll drop links to these down below. Thank you so much for watching. Stay safe, stay healthy. We'll see you tomorrow with another one. Take care.